Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Ranking the Albums. Today, I have got, finally, my younger brother, Rich, on the line via Zoom. All right, we couldn't get the Skype thing working. And of course, you know, these days, everybody's kind of doing stuff remotely because that's really all we can do. So Rich is joining us, not from San Francisco, actually.
Yeah.
Although that is the Golden Gate Bridge behind him in the San Francisco Bay, but he just didn't want us to see his lovely CD collections and movie collections or kids running around like, all that kind of
No,
stuff.
it's more like the mess that is my house.
But actually, as he was telling us before we went live on air, he's been busy cleaning and doing stuff he normally doesn't have time to do. So anyway.
Not there yet.
Not there yet. Okay, I got you. So when we've had a lot of people ask for Dream Theater Ranking the Albums, and it's a show I've wanted to do for a while. And then Rich and I went to see a concert together not long ago, which was Sons of Apollo, and I flat out asked him over a couple of beers and something to eat, and I said, would you be interested in doing the show with me? Because I know a lot of folks who like Dream Theater, but I would say my brother likes them probably as equal as I do, and I've seen 95% of all my Dream Theater shows in my lifetime with him, so I figured he'd be the perfect person to do the show with me. So I gave him the task, and he's been busy putting his albums together and ranking them and all that kind of stuff, so it'll be interesting to see how my list coincides with his, and we have not divulged anything, so we'll kind of take it from there. So you know how this goes, guys. We're going to go from our least favorite all the way to our favorite. We encourage everybody as you're watching the video or after you're done to go and rank them the way you like them. Remember, there's no right or wrong answer here. We all hear these albums differently. Some of them mean more to us than others, right, based on when we heard them in our lives and all that good stuff. So I'm going to let Rich, as the guest on the show, kick us off with his least favorite. I am pretty sure I know what it's going to be, but I'll let him go.
Very easy in my book. It's the initial one. This is the sound, from the singer to it just doesn't do it for me based on the rest of the stuff that they do. That was pretty simple.
And I will say that is not the one I was expecting.
Really?
No, not at all, because my least favorite is the Astonishing.
Well.
You know what? I have tried really hard to get into this album, and other than a handful of tracks, it just doesn't do anything for me. I find it unmemorable, too long and overblown, and I'm missing those Dream Theater hooks. I'm missing like the killer musicianship, and it's on here, but I don't know. This just didn't do it for me. And when we saw them live at was that Radio City Music Hall? Probably the only Dream Theater concert I've ever seen, and I've seen over 20 of them, that I really was kind of bored with. I think it's just the material. It doesn't do anything for me. Yeah, of course, I bought the shirt because I think the artwork is great. I love the packaging, but it doesn't work for me. I've tried. It's really the only Dream Theater album that I really don't care for much.
Right. Well,
what are you going to do, right?
That just leads me into my next one.
Well, that's what I thought you were going to pick.
See, to me, it's just too much. Like, I had three kids. To try to sit here and listen to this whole thing, which you kind of have to, because it's all one big story. I just can't do that. It's just too much. Too much. If you want to listen to it in the car, you're going somewhere. What are you going to listen to a couple of minutes and then that's it? No.
And I'm also of the opinion if they decide to condense it into one like CD, I'm not even sure that would work. I'm not crazy about the storyline. It seems like it's kind of been done before. And I don't know. It's just the songs it's not memorable to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a weird thing in their catalog. So anyway, I will say that everything else going forward for me, I really like a lot. And this was kind of hard, with the exception of the top half, the rest was kind of hard to rank because I do like a lot of these quite a bit. But for the purposes of getting this done, I had to do it. So next I'm going to go with A Dramatic Turn of Events, which is from, what year was this? 2011, right? So this is the first album post Mike Portnoy, first album with Mike Mangini on drums. A very solid album, I think. We saw them on this tour. I thought it was great, and I do like the album. I don't listen to as much as a lot of other ones for whatever reason, but it's got, some strong tracks. On the Backs of Angels is really good. Lost Not Forgotten, I like. Breaking All Illusions, great song. I like it. I just think I like other Dream Theater albums better. So what do you got next?
What's funny, I think we're going to be totally different.
Well, and that's fine. And that's the way it should be. It makes for a more interesting show that way.
Yeah. The next one I have is this one. For some reason, I just
Self-titled. Yeah.
yeah, self-titled. For some reason, just listening to it compared to the other ones, I just not as good as the other CDs. I think I kind of, I don't know if it was this one, but I think I felt it was a little self-indulgent at times. It just, Dream Theater can get that way sometimes, and I found some of their shows that they were like that. But for some reason, that's just, I don't like that one as much as other ones.
Okay, that's fair enough. It's fair enough. And I think when you show your CDs from now on, because your San Francisco is like an amoeba. So I would hold your CDs up like this.
Okay.
Because it's like when you hold it up like this, all of a sudden the bridge and the beige is like, bloop, it's gone. Oh, so I just gave away my next pick. Okay, Systematic Chaos is going to be next for me. Again, I like it. I do. I like it a lot. I think In the Presence of Enemies, the 2-part epic there, which kind of opened and closed the album, fantastic. This is a heavy album, I think. Forsaken, great song. Constant Motion, great song. The Dark Eternal Night is a top 12, 13 Dream Theater song for me. Prophets of War, Ministry of Lost Souls. I think it's a strong album. But again, I think I like others better. I don't know. It depends. Again, a lot of these, the order of these could change any day. Not just the bottom half was very hard to do because obviously I have my favorites and then my next tier, but there's really not a lot that differentiate them for me. I like them all. I don't know. So I'm going to go with Systematic Chaos next.
Yeah. And here we go. More differences. Octavarium was next on my list. This is one I didn't like at first, way back when, but the more I listen to it, the more I like it. But again, I just, comparing it to the other ones, it just doesn't stand out as good to me. Songs like Panic Attack, yeah, great. Root of All Evil, fantastic. But I think, getting past a few songs on it, other albums are just better.
I agree with you. And I also think I like that album better than I used to. And I will tell you, I very rarely listen to the title track.
Yeah.
I like the rest of it better. And but that was a cool show to see live. In fact, we were in the audience for the DVD CD recording at Radio City Music Hall. All right, so next up, I'm going to go with Black Clouds and Silver Linings.
Mm-hmm.
From what was this, 2008, right? Another good album, A Nightmare to Remember, classic. Shattered Fortress is a great song. All right. The Count of Tuscany, very good. I remember we saw them on this tour. It was great seeing that live. And I think, the bonus covers disc is fun. All right. Although I think I listened to that twice and never listened to it again. And then you got the bonus third disc, which is all the instrumental mixes, which, how many times are you going to listen to that stuff? It's I think sometimes, and this was Roadrunner Records. I know Inside Out has done that too, where a lot of these prog and prog metal bands, they release these, big epic albums, and then they give you a bonus disc of all the songs without vocals. It's if you feel that strongly about it, why don't you just can the singer and just go that way from going on, So, but I like this. I just, again, got to rank it somewhere.
Yeah. Now the next two, I'm not quite sure if I have it correctly, but I went.
There is no correct, but but you just going with your gut today, right?
I went with my gut. Next one was their latest, and it could be that I just haven't listened to it enough as compared to everything else. That very well could be. I like it, I really do, and actually, when I look at this compared to the one I have next, I could probably change my mind right now about it, but I have a feeling this one just has to deal with I haven't listened to it enough, and that's where it falls.
That is the problem of doing these type of shows when you have bands who are still releasing new material, because exactly what you said happened to me very recently on another show where their more recent album I like a lot, but it ranked lower because I just haven't had enough time with it, whereas a lot of the other stuff I've got decades with. So I absolutely agree with you. And I ranked, well, I'm not going to get into it yet, but I probably like that a little bit more than you, but I've just listened to it more than you have, right?
Yeah.
It only just came out not that long ago. So my next pick, if you would have asked me this 10, 15 years ago, I think it would have been way down by the bottom, if not at the bottom. But I find that I'm liking this more as time goes on. And
I know
that's
what it is.
Falling into Infinity, right? Is that the one? Yeah.
Yep.
I honestly was not a fan of this back in the day when this first came out, and I didn't listen to this for ages. But when I did the Dream Theater Top 10 Song Show back in 2019, I started listening to this again, and I was like, you know what? This is a pretty good album. It's just a little different from the ones around. I mean, there's some great songs on here, like Trial of Tears. All right. Lines in the Sand is fantastic. I always like Peruvian Skies, Burning My Soul, good rocker. New Millennium is really cool. There's some other tunes on here I'm not really that into, but I think the ones that are good are great.
Yep. And that leads me into
there you go.
One.
There you go.
You know what this album suffers from? Just the way the sound that it has compared to a lot of the other CDs, it's different. It sounds like it's missing something, and I think that detracts from the album in itself. Like if it was arranged differently, like some of the other songs, a little like heavier and stuff, it just would be different. Like the drums on there sound different to me. I don't have as much experience as you do and everything, but to me, it's just like there's something just missing. It's just missing. But I still like the songs are that good to me that it overcomes a lot of that stuff, and that's why I have it higher in the list than some of the other ones.
Gotcha. I get you, and I totally agree. I think the record label was pushing them to pump out some kind of radio-friendly fodder, and they kind of succumbed to that, which looking back, they probably regret now. I will also go on record in saying that now, all these years later, I prefer Derek Sherinian to Jordan Rudess.
Ooh. Interesting.
And I'm not saying he's a better player. And I'm not just saying that because Derek and I are kind of friendly. I think that his style of keyboard playing fits better overall in their sound. I don't know.
Well, it took Dream Theater in a totally new direction, I think. If you listen to how the band sounds before and after Jordan Rudess, it's different. It's definitely different.
Yeah, it is. I mean, all three keyboard players they've had have been very different players, and taken their music in different directions. But anyway, all right. So where am I next? Okay, I'm going to go with the self-titled from what year is this? 2013. I dig this album. I think what do we got in here? The False Awakening Suite is killer. The Looking Glass killer. The Enemy Inside. Behind the Veil. The Illumination Theory. I mean, just some really good, but I agree with, I'm pretty sure you said that they were really going off the rails with the, out of control instrumental, noodling on here. I agree, but I really dig the production on here. And I think that from a musicianship standpoint, this is a pretty happening album. So I like it.
All right.
Next.
This is going to be controversial.
I'm sure. Yeah.
But in my mind, it's not as good as the other ones that are on the list. And you're probably gonna be like, how the hell do you have dramatic turns of events over this one? But for some reason, I don't know. I like a bunch of Last Prison, great Debate, Misunderstood. It's really good. But in the grand scheme of things, that's where I have it.
Nothing wrong with that. That's and I'll get to it in a minute. That's another one that I like more today than I did back then. I'm going to go next with Distance Over Time, the brand new one, or newish one, I should say. I've really taken to this. I think this has become my favorite of the new era with Mangini. Paralyzed, killer. Barstool Warrior, killer. Room 137, killer. S2N, killer. Untethered Angel. I don't know. I just dig the whole album. I think it's really good. I even like the cool Viper King bonus track, which kind of sounds like Deep Purple to me. But Pale Blue Dot is great. I don't know. I like it. I've really taken to it. I loved hearing them play the stuff live, and for me, this album is a return to more kind of melodic and memorable fare. It still has a lot of crazy instrumental stuff going on, but I think these songs are more memorable than some of the other material that they've done since Mangini.
Oh, because they don't go off the deep end.
No, they don't. They really don't. I mean, there's moments, but it's more of a song-based album, I think, for me. So, all right, you're up.
All right. Next one, Dramatic Turn of Events. I really like this one. And actually, at first, I didn't. but again, the more I listened to it, the more it just grew on me. It just
Yeah.
definitely grew on me. And from beginning to end, I like just about every song on it. So
Yeah. I don't dislike it.
yeah.
I just think I like others better, but I totally get you. All right. Next up, I'm going to go with Octavarium.
Mm-hmm.
And again, kind of like you mentioned, some great songs on here. The Root of All Evil is amazing. These Walls, Panic Attack is killer. Sacrifice Sons is a great song. I find though, when I reach for this album, I generally don't stay around and listen to Octavarium though.
Yeah,
The
no.
title track. I don't know. The title track for me was never one of my favorites on here. I appreciate it for what it is. I think parts of it work, but at 24 minutes, I'm like, it doesn't really hold my attention as much. And maybe it's just me as I'm getting older. When I listen to like progressive music, I think, 20 years ago, I loved 15, 20, and 30-minute long songs. I have a harder time with them now. And I think that this song, when this album first came out, I was like, oh, that's pretty great. And now I'm like, yeah, it's pretty long.
Mm-hmm.
That's about all I say for it. So, but still a very good album. I think I dig it. So,
Yeah.
all right, you're up.
More controversy.
Oh,
Awake. Love it, but for some reason, other ones I just like better. You can't go wrong with 6 o'clock voices, Silent Man, love that, Lifting Shadows Off a Dream. The whole thing I like, but I just like other ones better.
yeah.
And it could also be it's the sound back then is different. It just some of the ones that I have in front of it just have, to me, the fuller sound, the harder sound. I just like it better.
Yep.
That's just me.
We're not far off there, and I'll get to that in a minute. So, but this one I rank a lot higher than you did. I'm going to go with When Dream and Day Unite, and
Yeah.
I'll tell you why. All right, I agree with you that Charlie is a weird fit for the band, basically because we all know LaBrie so well. I will agree
Yes.
with you, probably not, even though produced by Terry Date, maybe not the best sounding Dream Theater album out there.
Yeah.
I love the songs though. That's what it comes down to. I really like the songs.
I probably haven't given that one enough of a chance, just because it doesn't have that Dream Theater sound to me. I'm like, ugh.
Well, that's early on, but I mean, these are great songs on here. Like, you know what? If they only ever did this album and then broke up, we'd probably all be claiming what a classic this is. Fortune and Lies is amazing. Status Seeker is amazing. Itchy Jam is great.
Yes, that one.
Light Fuse and Get Away. I mean, these are classic stuff on here. The Killing Hand. I think this is. I mean, these guys were on another planet in 1989 coming out with this. But I agree with you. The next album was just so much more melodic and catchy and heavier and just as complex. And you had the different singers. So, yeah, I mean, I get it. But for me, I can't deny the songs, even though Charlie's a fine singer. I mean, I've heard his Dominici stuff. It's good, But yeah, when you've gotten so used to another singer for so many years, it's like, and then you listen to this, you're like, Anyway,
that's my fault when it comes to bands, singers. If it doesn't have that classic sound that I'm used to, I can't get into it. Can't get into it. So next one, I had a lot higher on my list than you did. I truly love this one. It just the whole thing. I think the first part of the album, a lot shorter songs. I got into all of them. Towards the end, a little longer, goes off a little more, but I love that. I still remember that tour. I loved it when we saw them. I'm surprised I'm not wearing that shirt, but probably can understand why.
Yeah. So hold that up. So I don't know if everybody saw the cover quick enough, because
yes.
we got different covers there, right?
Yeah, I have the sleeve that it's in.
Gotcha.
And regular album cover.
Gotcha. Okay.
This was, I think, a deluxe edition that I had gotten. So cool.
Yep. Yeah. See, I never had that cover for Systematic Chaos. So, all right. So I don't know if you included this, and if you didn't, I'll do two in this round here. But I could not include it because I think it's just brilliant. I included the EP Change of Seasons here. And that's
I included that.
Oh, okay. Good. All right. Never mind. So, I know it's one big long tune and a bunch of covers, but that one big long tune, Change of Seasons, I think is great. And that, to me, is an example of a long form song that really, really works from start to finish, where for me, Octavarium doesn't quite do it. Octavarium cut in half, I think, is amazing and probably would change my tune a little bit here. But I think Change of Seasons is absolutely amazing. And again, listening to Derek Sherinian in that tune, that's why I like him so much in this band. But, and I also think there's some great covers here. You know, Elton John's Funeral for a Friend, Love Lies Bleeding. You got Deep Purple's Perfect Strangers. You got Zeppelin's The Rover, and Achilles' Last Stand, and Song Remains the Same. And then the big medley with, you know, Kansas and Journey and Genesis and so on and so forth. So I really dig this. I've always loved it. So that it's coming in pretty high for me. So, and then, you know, it's almost in the top 5.
Yeah. Now, I tended to like this one a lot better than you did. So I just, and again, this is another one that at the beginning, was like, it's okay. But the more I listened to it, especially when we talked about doing this, I just found that I really, really like this album. I thought it was fantastic from top to bottom.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I like Black Clouds and Silver Linings too. I just, I don't know, sometimes I just feel I like others better, but it's definitely good. It's definitely good. All right, so like you, and I guarantee there's going to be a lot of people who are going to rank this much higher, and they're going to be like, I can't believe those Pardo brothers ranked Awake so low. And here's my thing with Awake. I love Awake. I think it's a darker album. There's some great songs on here. I don't find that I go back to listen to this much. As great as I know it is, I mean, you know, 6 O'Clock is great. Caught in a Web is great. Erotomania, great. Innocence Faded, great. Voices, you know, Scarred, Space Divest, Lifting Shadows Off a Dream. It's all great stuff. I don't know. I just find I don't reach for this as often anymore. Maybe I played it too much back in the day, or maybe, I mean, that could be, but I don't know. I just, and it's definitely different sounding. It sounds way different than Images and Words, and it sounds way different than the stuff that came after this. And like I said, I do like it. In fact, I love it. I don't listen to it as much as the 4. It's a top 5. That's damn good considering how many albums they have. But I think there's going to be a lot of people who are going to rank it much higher than that, and that's cool because we all, you know what it is. I think a lot of the folks who were really into Dream Theater in the beginning of their career and kind of dropped off at some point during the mid-late 90s are going to rank this higher than the people who have fully embraced the entire catalog and all the recent stuff. I bet you that's what we find a lot, but we'll see. I mean, maybe not, but that's kind of what I'm guessing. So anyway, you go.
Next, only because it's not a full album. Everything you said about it is fantastic. That song is just classic. Still remember first time I saw it in concert, I was just like, it was just fantastic.
Yep.
I just love it.
Yep.
And you know, if you built an album around it, it would definitely even be higher than that.
Yeah, and I think that they originally they weren't going to, they had that song in their catalog for a while, in their repertoire for a while, but had never recorded it, and I think obviously it didn't fit on Images and Words or Awake. And could you imagine if they just never recorded it?
Oh God.
And it's so long. It's like, how are you going to fit it? You had to put it out on its own. So, all right. So the top 4, here we go. So I'm going to go with 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence. Again, I think this is an album that I've liked more as time has gone on. And I think the disc 2, the long, 42-minute long track broken down into a million different parts, I think works very well because a lot of the sections of that song are very different. So it's not like you're listening to one. I mean, you are listening to one long piece, but it's broken down pretty good. But more importantly, I think the first disc is killer. The Glass Prison is amazing. Misunderstood, amazing. Blind Faith is excellent. The Great Debate and Disappear. God, it's amazing how long these songs are in here when you really look at it. Man, 13 minutes, 10 minutes, 9 minutes, 13 minutes, 7 minutes, and 42.
That's probably why it doesn't rank as high for me.
That could be why, yeah.
That's probably why.
But I do, for me, I love the way this album sounds, and I think this is a pretty aggressive album, pretty heavy, definitely very complex. This I think is one of their more challenging effords, I think.
That's the perfect description. It's challenging.
Yeah, it is. It's not an easy listen, right?
No. And if you to go through 13-minute song that's got a whole bunch of different parts to it, yes, that's where I would lose interest. That's and I remember, I think way back when, seeing him in concert and seeing some of those songs in concert. That's where you sit back in your seat and you'd be like, okay, let's you could do without that little part, go a little, faster, that definitely that perfectly put.
Yeah, but I like it. I like it a lot. So anyway, all right, we're in the top three. So here we go.
Yeah.
And I think
Mine.
well, we're having the same top three. It's just interesting, and I've been keeping track. It'll be interesting to see what order they come in. So go for it.
Top three. Yep. So the juxtaposed from Inner Degree of Turbulence is you have Train of Thought. This is just hard charging, in your face, that like different from a lot of the other stuff that they've done. I think it's just so hard, heavy, perfect. Like I still remember when what did we see him? Not at the Garden.
The theater at Madison Square Garden.
Yes, the theater. Still remember that show. That was great. And I remember I hadn't even really listened to that much before we saw the show. I was like, the songs were fantastic.
Do you remember the last song they played that night was In the Name of God? It finished off, and that's like, 15 minutes long, that song. I just remember, like, we both had trains to catch, and we're like, we did not want to leave. We're like, man, this is just so great. Yeah, that was a great one. Well, I matched you here. So number 3, Train of Thought. I think this is an album that divides a lot of the fans because in a lot of ways, Train of Thought was kind of like their Master of Puppets, right? Big into Metallica. Mm-hmm. And this is a heavy album like that. But man, you know what? Other than the fact that it's heavy like that, and maybe, and it's not even less progressive because there's plenty of intricate, challenging stuff on here. But As I Am is basically like a 80s Metallica tune. This Dying Soul is killer. Endless Sacrifice is a great, heavy, memorable song. Yep. Then you got the mellow Honor Thy Father. You got Vacant. Stream of Consciousness is terrific. And then one of my favorite Dream Theater songs of all time is In the Name of God, which I think is just absolutely sensational. So I've always loved this album. This album for a number of years actually moved into my number 1 spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a time, like after this was released, for like maybe 5 years after this was out, I listened to this nonstop, and this became my favorite Dream Theater album. Mm-hmm. Obviously that's changed since then, but it still ranks up pretty high towards the top. So, all right. What do you got for number 2?
Number 2, Images and Words. Classic album. This is what got me into listening to them. You turned me on to it. I forget when that was. And this is my absolute favorite song of Dream Theater, Metropolis. Every time I hear it in concert, just fantastic. Yeah, it could do without Pull Me Under anymore because I've heard that enough times. But every other song on here, love it. Every other song.
Yep, comes in number 2 for me. I had actually heard the debut before this, but I remember, and I probably told this story before. When was this? 92, right? So this was released in 92. I was actually briefly living at our parents' house again, and I was in the shower, and I had on the radio. And remember Z-Rock? Z-Rock was that AM heavy metal, hard rock and heavy metal station.
Where was that at?
Briefly. They had a thing in Poughkeepsie, but it was syndicated. And I heard this song, and I was like, holy cow, it sounded like a Rush song, but I didn't really recognize the vocalist. I was like, holy cow, that's great. Who is that? It was Pull Me Under. Then I found that it was Dream Theater. I'm like, holy crap, that's that Long Island band that my buddy up in college, who was still going to New Paltz at the time, I was up there almost every weekend hanging out because I had already graduated. God, that was like quite a long time after graduation. I was still going out there to hang out. But he had played me When Dream and Day Unite, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. So I went out and bought this, and I think that's when I told you about it. So a great album, and probably one of the most important albums to the progressive metal movement of the 90s. Mm-hmm. I Never Need to Hear Pull Me Under Again. Great song it is. Another Day, Take the Time, Surrounded, Metropolis Part 1, legendary. Under a Glass Moon, very underrated song here. For me, a top 5 Dream Theater song, Learning to Live.
Yes.
I love that song. So, a great album. The first with James LaBrie. Obviously, we know what our number 1 for both of us is going to be, right? Yep.
Yeah. Still one of the best shows I've ever seen at Roseland Ballroom.
Yep. One
of the best. It was fantastic. And this album just, one song flowing into the next, and like, you know, this is where the Astonishing falls far short. This is like perfection.
Well, this is a concept album the way it should be made, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
the way it should be.
The story is cool. It's kind of dark. It's moody. The playing is spectacular. I mean, there's some tracks on here. Again, it's, you know, Act 1 and Act 2, all sorts of different parts. But I think Home and the Dance of Eternity, You Can't Beat It, Finally Free, the Overture, I mean, the whole thing. And yeah, so we saw that amazing show at Roseland. And again, Jordan Rudess, his first, you know, time with the band. Dixie Dregs opened up. God, that seems like a million years ago. But and then when we saw them last year, it was the end of the anniversary, and they played the whole thing again, and that was just as cool.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Just without the choir behind them.
Right. But it's almost like you didn't miss it. I didn't.
Yeah. Well, the only one you missed it on was Through Her Eyes. That's where you notice the choir.
True.
They have the one woman singing. So,
yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, good stuff. Again, a lot of great albums here, I think. And you know, other than like the top few, I think my order on these could change any given time. I think the Astonishing for me will always safely be at the bottom, but the rest of them I like quite a bit. And depending on what mood I'm in, because some of them are different, obviously, from each other, and different feel. I think the last couple they did with Portnoy were a little heavier, more metal, because he was really into kind of like that scene at the time. So some people don't like that, some people do, you know, and there's others that are definitely more proggy and melodic, and some that have a little of both. So, but a great catalog, I think. They're not for everybody. I know a lot of folks here who visit the channel who don't like Dream Theater at all. It's too much noodling, too much widdly, and I get all that. But for those who do, I think they're very beloved, and they have a fan base that's like rabid. You know, that follows everything they do. It's very critical of what they do. But I don't know. I've dug them. They've been one of my favorite bands for the last, God, are we at 30 years now? Yeah, pretty much. So cool. Well, that's how we're ranking them each. And again, very different except for the last three. And no, we didn't plan that. So, but thanks for joining, Rich. I appreciated this. And Rich is coming right back, because we are going to tackle next, and he's going to have to change his background if he can. That'll be fun.
I'll try.
Yeah,
I'll take my son to do it because I don't know how to do it.
Okay, there you go. We're coming right back for Symphony X ranking the albums, so we figured we'd knock them both. You know, again, he and I have been following both bands and seeing them live quite a bit over the last couple decades, and that was like the logical next one to do. So, Rich, thanks again. Everybody visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on the mighty YouTube all the damn time. So remember, rank them as you like them in the comments below. Give us your top 5, your top 10. Do the whole catalog, whatever you like. Remember, we all hear these differently, so there's no right or wrong answer. So feel free to put them as you like them. All right. So we'll see you guys real soon for Symphony X, ranking the studio albums. Rich will be right back with us as well. So take care, guys. Bye-bye.